Luna's Bedtime Stories. Luna, the detective cat. The morning sun cast a warm glow over Luna's sleek black fur as she waited patiently by the back door of her home. Inside, Sunny, her caring owner, opened the door with a smile, understanding the silent language between them. With a soft, "Be safe, Luna," Sunny set her beloved feline companion free into the world beyond. The Yu family had recently grown comfortable with Luna being an outdoor cat, and although they were nervous about letting their baby outside, they wanted to trust that she would be okay on her own. Luna stepped into the backyard, her emerald eyes bright with excitement. Caramel, a playful tabby friend she had recently made, was already waiting near the garden fence, his brown coat dappled with sunlight. Luna greeted him with a purr, and together they set off on their grand adventure. In the quiet confines of Bayville, where golden sunbeams filtered through the leaves and laughter floated on the breeze, Luna, the graceful black cat, graced the streets with confidence. Beside her, Caramel twitched his whiskers in anticipation. They had a day of exploration planned, a day that promised hidden treasures and shared wonders. But little did they know how important a role they would play in Bayville, starting later that day. Caramel was a Bayville expert with many years of experience as an outdoor cat, so he often led the way, showing Luna new corners of their hometown. "Where to first?" said Luna as she skipped beside him. "Oh, you'll see," he replied back teasingly. Caramel's first destination was the town's hidden grove, a magical place where ancient trees whispered secrets to the wind. Under the verdant canopy of the grove, Luna and Caramel found themselves lost in a world that seemed to belong only to them. Their playful spirits were contagious as they chased each other through the soft grass, their laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves overhead. Caramel, with his mischievous eyes, couldn't resist a playful pounce, attempting to catch Luna off guard. Luna, ever elegant and composed, gracefully dodged his advances, her tail flicking with amusement. "You're getting faster, Luna," Caramel purred, his eyes sparkling. He was smitten by Luna, but had yet to confess his feelings. "I've been practicing my moves, trying to keep up with your playful energy," Luna replied. Caramel grinned, his whiskers twitching in delight. "Well, Luna, you're the most graceful cat in Bayville now, but speed isn't everything. It's the finesse that counts." With a playful swat, he tagged her gently on the nose. And so, with hearts full of curiosity and a shared sense of wonder, Luna and Caramel ventured deeper into the grove, their conversation flowing like a gentle stream. They updated each other on what they had been doing since they last saw each other. Uncoincidentally, they both had done a lot of snacking, napping, and sunbathing. Their friendship, nurtured by shared adventures and conversations, grew stronger beneath the ancient trees. From the grove, they ventured to Bayville's bustling marketplace, eager for a midday snack. The aroma of freshly baked bread and exotic spices filled the air as they weaved through the stalls. Luna and Caramel were beloved patrons of the market, and stall vendors would dote on them in return for a little treat. As they explored further, they stumbled upon Mr. Kim's bakery, where the delightful scent of cinnamon rolls drew them in like a magnet. The bakery seemed more chaotic than usual, with the shop owner flailing his arms about and rambling incoherently. With a mischievous grin, Caramel attempted to snatch a nibble while Mr. Kim was distracted, but Luna's gentle paw reminded him of proper manners. Mr. Kim had always been generous to them with his treats, and Luna knew it was important not to bite the hand that feeds you. As she continued observing Mr. Kim's unusual behavior, she realized he was not in a good mood. He was frantic and worried about something. "I've misplaced my treasured recipe book," he said to his workers repeatedly. "Has anyone seen my treasured recipe book? It's always sitting on the kitchen counter right here." Mr. Kim was a kind-hearted man whose passion for baking had turned his little shop into a beloved local treasure. Without his book, the whole town of Bayville would suffer a great loss. This recipe book contained generations' worth of secret family recipes and had allowed Mr. Kim to win multiple Bayville baking awards. Furrowing his brow, Mr. Kim searched high and low, retracing his steps through the bakery and peering beneath counters and shelves. The book, however, remained elusive, as if it had vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, Luna, the perceptive black cat of Bayville, who had been watching the whole scene unravel, sensed Mr. Kim's distress and decided to investigate. Luna blinked at Caramel. "Mr. Kim has lost his recipe book. Let's help him find it. I remember what it looks like. Now I just need to try and place its scent." Caramel's curiosity piqued. "When did you become a detective, Luna? Do you really think we can find it?" he asked excitedly. With silent steps and keen eyes, she entered the bakery, her emerald eyes filled with determination. She sniffed around, her nose twitching as she detected faint traces of vanilla and cinnamon. In his panic, Mr. Kim noticed Luna and seemed to understand that she wanted to help. "Are you trying to help me find my book, sweet Luna?" he asked, his quavering voice showing signs of worry. Luna stared into his eyes and meowed with conviction. Mr. Kim could not believe it. He always knew she and Caramel were intelligent cats, but now he was filled with gratitude that he had a team of feline investigators on the case to find his precious recipe book. He allowed her to sniff whatever she needed to in the store, and even showed her the spot on his counter where he usually kept it. Luna was now certain that the book was not in the bakery anymore. It had made its way out the door somehow, and she was determined to find it. She and Caramel set sail, while Mr. Kim stayed behind to keep his bakery running smoothly. Following the scent trail, Luna ventured into the bustling town square, where the book's aroma mingled with the fragrances of blooming flowers and freshly brewed coffee. Luna's sharp eyes caught sight of a fluttering page from Mr. Kim's recipe book caught in the breeze. It led her to the nearby park, where she discovered a group of mischievous squirrels nibbling on acorns. At the sight of a determined Luna and Caramel coming towards them, the squirrels scrambled in all directions, climbing the nearby trees. With them out of the way, Luna could see clearly now that there was a page stuck to the branches of a bush. But it was only one page, and the rest of the book was nowhere to be found. Caramel made sure to hold on to this page, because although it was only one, it could be a critical recipe for Mr. Kim. "Oh no," said Luna worriedly. "I don't have any more inkling of where the book could be." Caramel, too, was at a loss. The scent of Mr. Kim's recipe book seemed to end here. When suddenly they heard a voice from up above. It was a black pigeon sitting in the branches that was calling out to them. "Coo, coo, up here you two," it said. "Are you talking to us?" asked Luna. The pigeon looked around before speaking up, as if it was about to let them in on a big secret. "Come closer," he said. "Coo, coo." Luna and Caramel made their way closer to the tree's trunk, but refrained from climbing it so they wouldn't scare him off. "Have you seen Mr. Kim's book?" Luna asked straightforwardly. "I've seen many things. Coo, coo," said the pigeon mysteriously. "I saw a woman come out of his bakery with lots of books. She went that way." The pigeon stuck its head out towards the Bayville library. "Coo, coo, you didn't hear it from me." It seemed like the whole town was determined to help Mr. Kim get his book back. Without hesitation, Luna jolted in the library's direction. Luna and Caramel spotted Mrs. Thompson, the Bayville pet store owner, walking into the library with an armful of books. Inside, among the towering shelves of books, Luna approached with cautious steps, her emerald eyes widening in recognition. Caramel, always the friendly tabby, trotted beside her, his tail held high. At this point, Luna had no idea that Mrs. Thompson was carrying Mr. Kim's book, but Luna was in awe of Mrs. Thompson nonetheless, and simply wanted to say hi, because Mrs. Thompson was the woman who had raised Luna for the first few years. Ever since being adopted by Sunny, Luna hadn't seen Mrs. Thompson once, since she was always at home. In that moment, Luna realized that she had almost forgotten about Mrs. Thompson entirely, as she had been so busy with Sunny and her family over the past year. Luna felt a mix of emotions: excitement to see the woman who could be considered her first mother and her first friend, but also guilt for not having thought of the woman more often until this very moment. As she neared Mrs. Thompson, Luna let out a soft meow as if to say, "Hello, old friend." Mrs. Thompson turned around, instantly recognizing Luna's voice. "Oh, Luna!" She looked around and realized Sunny and her family were nowhere in sight. "Where are your owners?" Mrs. Thompson asked. Then she spotted Caramel. "And who is this sweet little thing?" She knelt down to give both of the two cats a good rub. Luna was so lost in the moment of reuniting with Mrs. Thompson that she had briefly forgot about her day's mission, to find Mr. Kim's cookbook. But Caramel was still holding the recipe page in his mouth, and Mrs. Thompson curiously took a look. She held the page in her hand and read aloud, "Kim Family Recipes, #29, Basque burnt cheesecake. Why, that sounds delicious, doesn't it?" She giggled. "I was actually just at Mr. Kim's bakery myself. I picked up some scones for tomorrow's breakfast." Luna, realizing what she had come to the library to do, meowed at her with a concerned voice. She was trying to convey that they were helping Mr. Kim find his lost book. Luna and Mrs. Thompson had spent so many years together that Mrs. Thompson could tell when Luna was trying to say something to her. The pet store owner cleverly put two and two together. Her attention shifted from the idea of scones to the ripped recipe. "Is something wrong with Mr. Kim's book? Why do you only have one page?" Caramel, meanwhile, had picked up a new scent and began sniffing around. The scent was too strong to ignore. It was so strong, it was as if Mr. Kim's bakery had moved itself to the library, to this very spot that they were standing in. "Excuse me, Mrs. Thompson," he meowed politely, motioning his head towards her arms. "I believe that book belongs to Mr. Kim's bakery. It seems there was a mix-up." All this time, Mrs. Thompson had been holding 3 books in her hand, one of which was the treasured bakery recipe book belonging to Mr. Kim. Mrs. Thompson looked at Luna and Caramel in surprise, then glanced down at the book in her hands, realization dawning on her face. "Oh my, I must have taken it by accident. How did you find me here?" Luna purred softly, her eyes gleaming with intelligence. She meowed in response, saying, "Our noses led us to you. I guess we have a knack for finding lost things, don't we?" We also had the help of a funny little bird. Mrs. Thompson was both amazed and grateful. "Thank you, Luna, and you too, Caramel. I'm so glad you found me. I wouldn't have realized my mistake until later. Let's head back to Mr. Kim's bakery together, shall we? Imagine a Bayville without Mr. Kim's recipe book. The whole town would be in shambles, wouldn't it?" Luna and Caramel meowed in agreement as the 3 of them made their way out of the library. Along the way, Mrs. Thompson smiled, her admiration for the two feline detectives evident. "You two truly are remarkable. I'll make sure to double-check my bag next time. I must have grabbed it by accident on the way out, thinking it was one of my own books." Mrs. Thompson clutched the misplaced recipe book, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Luna walked gracefully at her side, her emerald eyes reflecting understanding, while Caramel, with his tail held high, seemed more intrigued than concerned. Mrs. Thompson was a kind-hearted woman with a love for baking and animals who frequented Mr. Kim's bakery regularly. On this particular day, she was engrossed in her latest baking project when, in a moment of distraction, she accidentally placed Mr. Kim's cherished recipe book into her bag, mistaking it for one of her own. Unaware of her mistake, Mrs. Thompson continued her day, eventually making her way to the town library. As she readied herself to settle into a cozy corner of the library, Luna and Caramel, the ever-curious feline detectives of Bayville, sensed the familiar scent of the recipe book and followed it, their keen noses leading them directly to her. As they entered the bakery, the tantalizing aroma of freshly baked bread greeted them. Mr. Kim, with flour-dusted hands and a warm smile, looked up from the dough he was kneading. His eyes widened in surprise when he saw the familiar book in Mrs. Thompson's hands. "Mrs. Thompson, Luna, Caramel, what a pleasant surprise," he exclaimed, his smile growing wider as he recognized the recipe book. "Is that my recipe book?" Mrs. Thompson nodded sheepishly, her cheeks turning a shade of pink. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Kim. I accidentally took it with me to the library. Luna and Caramel here helped me realize my mistake." Mr. Kim's eyes twinkled with gratitude as he accepted the book from Mrs. Thompson. "Thank you, Luna. And thank you, Caramel. I can't express how much this book means to me. It holds the secrets to my bakery's most cherished recipes, passed down from my grandmother." The atmosphere in the bakery was filled with understanding and forgiveness. Mistakes happened, but in Bayville, they were always rectified with kindness. Mrs. Thompson smiled, her embarrassment fading as she observed the camaraderie between Mr. Kim, Luna, and Caramel. "I truly appreciate your understanding, Mr. Kim. And Luna and Caramel, you both are amazing. Bayville is lucky to have you. Mr. Kim, can I buy these two adorable cats a sweet treat? How does a cinnamon roll sound, Luna?" Mr. Kim swatted at the idea. No, this one's on the house. These two cats saved me today. They're welcome in my bakery anytime." With a shared glance of excitement, Luna and Caramel acknowledged their words and couldn't wait for their reward. They had successfully solved their first mystery together and restored order to Bayville. As Mrs. Thompson bid her farewell, promising to double-check her bag in the future, Mr. Kim set up a section for the two cats in a sunlit corner of the bakery. The comforting scent of freshly baked bread enveloped them, a reminder of the delightful moments they had shared that day. But Luna still had one more thing to do. She knew that their day of investigating would not have had such a happy ending without the help of the pigeon in the park. She and Caramel agreed to save a generous piece of the cinnamon roll and share it with their new friend. Mr. Kim watched as the two cats ran off with a piece of warm bread still in their mouths and wondered where they may be going. Bayville continued to enjoy the delightful treats from Mr. Kim's bakery, blissfully unaware of the small miracle that had occurred within its walls, all thanks to Luna and Caramel, the town's newest detectives. Word of Luna's success spread like wildfire through Bayville. Soon, residents from all corners of the town sought Luna's expertise to find their lost possessions, from misplaced keys to cherished heirlooms. Luna, with her natural detective instincts, solved each case with finesse, leaving behind a trail of relieved and grateful townsfolk. Luna, the humble detective, continued her work, bringing smiles to the faces of Bayville's inhabitants, one lost item at a time. With each successful case, Luna's legend grew, transforming her into a beloved icon of the town. And as she curled up in her cozy corner at night, she did so with the satisfaction of knowing that she had made a difference, one lost thing found, and one grateful heart at a time. The end.